Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. I am here with Grace Troutman. Is that how you say Troutman?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. That's how you say
perfect. I didn't even practice. Look at that.
it.
I am here with Grace Troutman, and we're going to talk about lots and lots of fun things: destination photography, associate teams, work-life balance, all of the things, because Grace is the expert in all of them,
Aw.
obviously. So before we get into it, Grace, just go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of tell everyone a little bit about like who you are and what you do.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having me. Super, super pumped to be on Oh Shoot. So a little bit about myself. My name's Grace Troutman, Grace T Photography on Instagram, TikTok, all of the social media outlets. But I am originally from Iowa, and I'm a Midwest-based destination wedding photographer, and I'm a photo business educator, and I am also the head of the GTP team. I have an associate team under my brand as well that shoots for me. And yeah, I'm just living in Iowa, shooting a bunch of destination weddings and Midwest
Mhm.
weddings and teaching other photographers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to hear your story and kind of like how you got into photography. Just
Yeah,
take me back to like the beginning, Grace. Like,
sure.
just make me feel this story right now.
Sure. So I started, if we really want to go back in high school, took a lot of photo classes there, was still interested in it when I went to
Hmm.
college. So I went to the University of Northern Iowa in Iowa. And there I kind of dove into an artistic background. I majored in photography and marketing. And I did a lot of film. I shot film for 3 years. And then my last year there, I shot digital. So
Hmm.
it was like fairly new to me, like to actually shoot on a digital camera. That
Hmm.
wasn't like a pink Sony point and shoot. Because we all had those.
Yeah.
But so then after college, my husband and I was still dating at the time. We moved to Arizona for a short stint and didn't love it. We were like, no, thanks. Let's not live
Hmm.
here. So then we packed up and we headed to California, just a little bit more west. And when I was there, I got a job at a post processing company.
Okay.
And so they edited wedding photographers' photos. You sent them the images, but I was the one talking to all the photographers on the phone. I was like handling, what they wanted with their editing. And I did do parts of their galleries as well and would edit that. And after a year there, I was like, okay, I do not want to be the one behind the computer anymore talking to the photographer. I want to actually be the photographer because I would see all these
Hmm.
beautiful images come in. And I was kind of shooting here and there at that time, just maybe like family sessions, senior sessions, occasionally second shooting a wedding or two. But after a while, I was like, no, I want to actually be the photographer. So I started second shooting more, and I shot up in LA for some photographers up there. And then I just put it out into the world that I wanted to shoot weddings. I put it on Facebook. I put it on a newly created Instagram account. And
Hmm.
a lot of friends saw that, friends from college, and started booking me back in Iowa. And then I actually shot my first two weddings were destination weddings, which is so random. But
Yeah.
I shot destination weddings for a friend and then my cousin's cousin, which was so nice to get into. And that's how I kind of delved into the destination market. Is
Hmm.
I got a taste of that really early on, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how I started. And then we moved back to Iowa after a while. I was like, all these people are booking me back in Iowa. I think my business could really grow. And I went
Hmm.
from, I think my first season was 2 weddings. The next season was 9. And then I was like 30 plus weddings a year for a couple years.
Okay.
So once we moved back to Iowa, it blew up. And
Hmm.
then I was like, okay, this is awesome. This is what I'm going to do. And from there, I started an associate team and went into education, and the rest is
Yeah.
history.
Did you find that with your two destination weddings that you booked right away,
Mhm.
did you find that just having those in your portfolio led to just like booking a bunch of other destinations?
Oh yeah, totally. And it was also like a lifestyle thing too. So my husband and I love to travel.
Okay.
So before this, like we had moved to Arizona, moved to California. We have traveled all over the US. So a lot of people knew we like to travel anyways.
Hmm.
So it was only natural for me to kind of infuse the two
Right.
of photography and travel. So when people
Hmm.
saw that, they were like, oh, she loves to travel. I'm going to book her for my destination, in Punta Cana and in
Right.
South Padre, Texas.
And were you finding that a lot of people were like finding you through social media, or how were people finding you for these destinations?
Right away, it was all of my college friends or
Oh,
friends of
okay.
friends. So it was definitely word of mouth because I had just created my Instagram account. I maybe had like
Right.
100 followers. So
Hmm.
this was back in 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Um, so my actual business account I created on there. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was all word of mouth until that like second year of when I was shooting 30 plus weddings a year. And then I started getting inquiries from people who I didn't know.
Okay, gotcha. The same, it's very similar with my business. I
Yeah.
started with literally all friends and family.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it was like nobody was hearing about me any other way.
Right.
And I honestly think like personally I'm so grateful for like the support from
Yes.
my friends and family, because it was just like everyone was referring me, and that's kind of like how I got started. So that's really cool that like not only was it weddings, it
Yeah.
was like destination weddings.
Yeah.
Like your friends and family are the best.
It was so nice. I was like, yeah, everybody, please have a destination wedding.
Yeah. Since we're just talking about destination weddings,
Yeah.
we're just gonna jump into the questions that
Sure.
I have.
Sure.
So I'm so curious about how you are like a destination photographer, but you literally live in like the Midwest, which is just
Yeah.
like not like I live in the Midwest too.
Yes.
We're not vibing with the destinations here
Yeah.
really. Like it's just not the
Cornfields.
prettiest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like how how does that kind of work with like the fact that you're literally
Mhm.
based somewhere that's not a destination?
Totally. I just brand myself as a destination wedding photographer, and then people understand that this is what I do, and I take on weddings that are outside of the state. And of course, I take a lot of Midwest weddings, and I've
Mhm.
scaled down on the amount of destination weddings now that I'm in my almost eighth year of business. But I mean, I had at one point 50-50. So like half of my weddings were destination, half were not. But for me, it was, just communicating that I love to travel. And
Mhm.
that was something that I was passionate about in my business and that I was an expert in, especially if I went to multiple locations like Colorado, California, since we used to live there, things like
Yeah.
that. People took me a little bit more seriously since I've been there already.
Right. Yeah. I was going to
Mhm.
say, like, I feel like just having that travel under your belt and
Yes.
having photos to show, like, gives you such a huge upper hand compared to people that maybe don't have any experience in California
Right.
or, wherever.
Yep.
So, let's talk a little bit about like your destination packages.
Mhm.
Um, I guess like walk me through how you price things. Like, do you do all
Sure.
together? Do you price things separately? Were you always doing that? Like, what would you recommend?
So I have like an all-inclusive package. So if someone books me, I have two options right now. And it's either an elopement package or a full day destination package. I used to have more options of like 8 or 10 hour days on larger destination weddings, but I
Hmm.
just feel like if I'm in a place, like traveling to that place, I want to be there the whole day anyways.
Hmm.
Um, if it is like 100-person wedding or something like that. So my elopement packages, those are a little bit different because they're like under 25 guests, smaller days, they're 4 hours. So that is totally separate. But I do love those wedding days because they're so intimate and
Hmm.
personal, and but everything is all included. So my stay, my lodging, my travel, like airfare, and also rental car, that's all included in the package. And I actually take care of booking that because
Okay.
I don't want to put like one more thing on the couple. I like to kind of sell it as like, I take care of it. I take care of the rest. You guys don't have to do it. It's a one-time fee basically, or however they
Hmm.
want to split it up and pay it. But there's no added cost to it because what I found over the years is when I, had a set price, but then I would add plane ticket, I would add my hotel, I would add my rental car, people were getting sticker shock. They were like, and they would start backing up and being like, oh my gosh, we're adding all of this. And then I ended up not booking a lot of those because they were like, no, that's too much, like add it up. But once I switched it and gave them one price, I was like, here it is. This is all you pay. There's not going to be any added costs. They were like, great, cool, awesome, let's sign.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Okay. Yeah. I like that idea of like, just keep it all in one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. How do you kind of like, and my brain is comprehending, how do you like price it out to the point where it's like you're not losing money on like
Totally.
a rental car? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because those costs are so expensive. So like,
Yep.
how do you kind of predict like flight costs and everything like that?
Yeah, I do have like certain packages. So like within the US, it's usually going to be around that like $1,500 to $2,000 on top of my package price. So I will be spending that much on my stay, plane ticket, and rental car. It used to be a lot cheaper, but now this day and age it's not. But if I am going to like Hawaii, that's a totally different price. So that may be like, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 on top of that. So I would say it's my base package price, but then add on, that 10-hour package, whatever, but then add on that $2,000 to $3,000 of coverage.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people, when they first start out in destinations, they're like, oh, I'm going to price it cheaper, so everyone books me, get all this, portfolio work under my belt, which is great. Like, okay, try that one time, but then see how much work and effort it is to do a destination wedding, and not to mention all the shoots and money that you're losing out on when you're traveling, because it's usually a 4 or 5 day trip. So if you are going to go that route, just make sure that like you change your pricing after that and adjust from there, because once you get the experience, you can adjust your pricing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's really good advice. Like, it's good to get like 1 or 2 under your belt, but like,
sure,
I think there's like this dream in everyone's head of like being flown everywhere to shoot weddings.
Yeah.
And like, yes, it's so fun and so cool, but it's so expensive. And not only is it expensive money wise, but it takes your time, and time is irreplaceable. You cannot get that back. So like that's something to keep in mind too. Like, make sure you are pricing yourself to the point where it's actually worth it for you to be gone for that long. Like if you have kids or like big family events, or like, I don't know, like, or even just time with your significant other or your friends, like you're missing out on that because you're literally traveling for a destination that you didn't charge enough for in the first place. So just make sure it's worth it.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, you could be shooting 2 weddings that weekend back at home and making double of what you're charging. So like, yes, make sure it's worth it. And especially, I always say, to a destination that you connect with or like want to continue shooting at. Cause like I've gotten inquiries for places in like Texas or, like random states that I'm like, would I want to go back there again to like continue shooting at this place? So if you're like, not really, then like think about that, because that destination will be in your portfolio. And I've had it before too, where I have shot a wedding in a place and I continue to get inquiries in this destination that I'm like, I don't want to go back there. Right. So yes, you have to think about that too.
That's actually really smart. Like maybe if someone listening wants to get into destinations, like kind of keep it narrow to like 5 or 6 locations that you really feel like you want to focus in on. Or if they're just like spots that you like, because like you said, if it's random places that you're not interested in, like having a relationship with and boosting your, like helping boost your SEO and stuff like that. Like, why are you going to want to advertise for that? Like just get a wedding at home. Yeah. Like just keep it open.
Exactly.
So the last thing that I want to ask you about destination weddings is just like any general advice or tips that you have for someone that is listening that wants to get into destinations, doesn't really know what to start.
Yeah. Okay. So if someone is like, I, am starting fresh, I don't have any destinations. First and foremost, I would say start traveling on your own. People need to understand that you like doing this. So like on social media or, on your website, just make sure like you have photos of yourself, like traveling to places. Because if you've literally never traveled out of your state, you're not the first choice that people are going to be like, okay, great. Like I'm going to book them.
Mhm.
Unless like you're pricing it so cheaply that it's, too good of a deal to pass up.
Mhm.
So just let people know that you like traveling. And then from there, if you're building up your portfolio, you can set up styled shoots. If you're like, I can't travel out of state to build a portfolio, start shooting adventurous places in your state. I guarantee you, even if you live in Kansas, the flattest state ever, I swear there are probably some places that you can go that are like adventurous looking. So just do a little bit of research. Like in Iowa, I've built that up too. There's places just right over the border in Wisconsin that are, cool mountainous areas I can hike to.
Mhm.
So definitely do your research. If you can't, fly anywhere or do styled shoots anywhere like that, just kind of look around in your state. But you can even like do it for super cheap. Take some friends who have already gotten married, have them put on their wedding gear. You can have them model for
Mhm.
you, go buy some flowers from Trader Joe's or something like that, and set up a styled shoot. Or you can do it big. You can get a dress company, floral, hair and makeup models, all of that, and set up like a big elopement style shoot. Or like if you are traveling on vacations or anything like that, do a model call. Did you just do that? Right?
Mhm.
You were like on the biggest road trip ever. I was so
Yeah.
jealous.
Yes, and I did 2 model calls just because
Yeah.
I did them in places that I wanted
Yeah.
experience/wanted
Hmm.
to book more potentially, so I did San Diego and,
Yeah.
Zion.
Yeah, so smart. And like then
Thanks.
now you have like that portfolio work. You can post
Yeah.
about it. You can like make all the content and people know that you've
Mhm.
been there before and therefore trust you more to shoot there.
Right.
So absolutely. And then another thing you can do is go to content days or workshops.
Yeah.
So if you, want a little bit of the education aspect as well, or you see someone putting on a workshop or a retreat or something where you're like, okay, that's in a cool place that I would love to shoot at and get more work, you can pay to go to that. But if anything else, if like none of that works out, if you are traveling, like go to places and take headshots just so people are like, oh, she is there.
Yeah.
Like she's been to that place. So
Mhm.
if anything else, like just take headshots if you're traveling somewhere.
Yeah. You have to put in the work. Like
Oh yeah.
you're not just gonna get like a crazy like Bali inquiry
No.
just because like
Yes.
you really have to have stuff in your portfolio to represent what you can do. And it's really tough because it's like, well, how do you get that if like I've never booked there? It's like a really hard cycle of like you can't get booked there if you don't have the photos, but how are you going to get the photos if you don't get
Right.
booked there? So you really just have to put in the work to find models, or like you said, headshots, or if you have a significant other, set up a
Hmm.
tripod or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I wanted to ask you very, very randomly, just because I'm curious, what do you shoot on and what are your like go-to
Yeah.
lenses and stuff?
I have a Canon R6, two of them, and then my favorite is a 2870 right now.
Okay.
She is a beast. She is a beast. She's so good though. So
Okay.
creamy and perfect. But I that lens does not come off my camera. And I shot for
Hmm.
years and years and years with the 35, my
Yeah.
beloved 35. I love her so much and so dearly. But the 2870 has range and it's so nice to have on a wedding day.
Yeah.
Um, I also love my 135 for wedding days. So I try to shoot mainly primes. I had a 70 to 200 at one point, but hated it because I was so sore after
Yeah.
every wedding day, like,
Hmm.
like bulking my arm up,
Yeah.
just using that. But that is mainly what I shoot on. And then I have a slew of film cameras as well, that I'm incorporating that I started, this past fall that I'm going to be using in my arsenal.
Okay. Is your 28 to 70, what's the aperture on that?
2.0,
Okay.
which
So,
is so
okay.
nice.
Here's my beef right now. Okay. I want that lens so
Mhm.
badly. However, it's only like a Canon R lens and they don't have
Mhm.
one for Sony. And like
No.
I shoot Sony and I'm over here crying my eyes out because like I'd never shoot lower than f2 anyway.
Right.
So
Mhm.
like why not get a zoom lens that can give you 28 to 70? Like it
Right.
just I just am like begging. I should email my contacts at Sony and
Do
be like,
it.
come on, give us this lens.
Or at least an adapter.
I know. Yes. I didn't even think about an adapter. The thing with adapters is like it takes away like all of the
I know.
autofocus stuff, like
Yes.
eye autofocus that is like the reason you have mirrorless in the first place.
Yes.
So good for you. I'm happy for you have that lens. However, I am a little jealous.
If you ever want to borrow my Canon camera to try it, I'd be happy.
Oh my
To show
gosh.
you.
Okay, thank you. I'll let you know. You like ship it
For
to me
sure.
from Iowa.
Yeah, I'll make a trip. To Michigan.
Oh,
It's
perfect.
fine.
So let's get into associate teams because you mentioned
Yeah.
that that was kind of like
Yes.
your most recent steps. Well, not most recent,
Mhm.
but after you got started.
For
So
sure.
just kind of walk me through in more detail how you got started with that and like
Yeah.
how you got that to grow and all of that.
So I, at one point, was turning down so many inquiries. And after like raising my pricing, after doing all the right things, I was still getting so many inquiries. And I was like, it was like at one month or so, I turned down, it was like 30 plus inquiries. And I sat there, I was like, okay, I want to find a way to work with these couples who I'm turning away and literally like handing out to the world, which is totally fine. But also I was like, a lot of them came to me and were like, we want to work with you. You are our first choice. So I'm like, how do I replicate myself to work with these couples? And also that's so much income that I'm turning away. Like that's just so much that I could just be, using to further my business. So at one point I was talking to family about it, and one of my brother-in-laws, he used to own his own business, and he was like, you need employees. And I was like, absolutely not. No, nobody can do my job better than me. Like, no way. I'm not going to do that. So I chewed on that for a while. And after a little bit, I saw some photographers, like not many. And this was in 2018, not many who had associates. And I was like thinking about it. And I was like, okay, maybe I could hire someone, maybe just one person I could train to shoot like me. And, then I could be taking on these other couples and serving all these couples to give them the Grace Tea experience. So I did that. So I was like, okay, I reached out to actually two of my past friends at college. So they went through the photo program with me.
Okay.
And I knew their skill. I was like, you went through the photo program with me. You can do this. You understand the camera. So I reached out to them and they were like, yeah, let's do it. So from there, it started 2018. I had two associates and we booked 15 weddings for associates. And
Okay.
from there, it's just taken off. I am scaling back this year. After 2021 was so busy. I think we had over 60 weddings total. So I was like,
No.
yeah, it was so many. And I think I shot 23 of those. So
Okay.
I was managing the rest of them. And I had 4 associates at that time. But now I am down to 1 associate. She is wonderful. But that's how I kind of started with it. And it's just took off right from when I hired my associates.
Mhm. How did you find the other associates that
Yeah.
weren't from your college program?
Yeah. So I backing up to, I also did ask other photographers who I shot with in the past.
Okay.
So second shooters, just friends of friends or friends in the industry, I asked, and I did get turned down. People were like, nah, that sounds kind of weird. I was like, that's okay, cool, no big deal. I'll find somebody else. Like, not a big deal. And then my last associate that I hired, I just posted on Instagram that I was hiring someone on my team. And from there, I just went through an interview process. And I have all of them actually second shoot with me, a few weddings, and even associate. Even just come as an assistant. So like
Okay.
not even shoot, so they can come and assist and just like watch me work as
Mhm.
well. So they can kind of understand like my process the day of, but then they'll second shoot with me and then they can dive into their own weddings for me.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to like do some digging. It's not easy. They're not going to fall into your lap.
Mhm.
But if you have someone in mind that you've worked with in the past, or a friend that like maybe doesn't want to be the face of the business, just like showing up and shooting, that's always a great
Mhm.
option.
Yeah. How do you find people that like I guess like, do most of the people that you hire, do they have their own business on the side, and slash, how do you find people that actually care about your business and about
Totally.
like giving a good experience and not just like people that are there for the paycheck, you know?
Totally. Um, Again, the interview process is so vital in
Okay.
this. So okay, sorry, what was the first part of that
The
question?
first, I'm also struggling to remember the first part of my question. The first one was, oh, do most people have their own
Oh,
photo
yes.
business?
Okay, so I was gonna say, yes, they have to. As a contracted worker, it is illegal for them not to have their own
Oh, okay.
business. So if you hire someone as an employee, like an actual employee, then they do not have to have their own business.
Okay.
So, but as a contracted worker, legally they have to have their own LLC or whatever all set up and ready to go, their own business insurance, all of that, because they
Hmm.
are being hired for one job. They're not like an employee of your business. So yes,
Yep.
they have to have that. But okay, going into finding somebody who cares. So this is kind of vital. Like obviously, you want your
Hmm.
couples to have the best experience ever. So when interviewing someone, I the biggest thing I look for is, do I vibe with them? Like, am
Hmm.
I going to be their friend? Do they seem like trustworthy, reliable? Do they have like a decent portfolio? Like for me, like I would like them to be in their second, third year of business. Um, Mainly because that first year you're still kind of figuring out like the ins and outs of weddings and
Hmm.
like, when to show up and how a wedding day actually works and, what the timeline feels like on a wedding day, all of that. So once they get that down, once they have like a season under their belt, like, okay, into their second, third years where they're like experienced, but maybe like, again, they don't want to be the face of their business. They
Hmm.
just want to be creative. Maybe they don't want to do all the marketing, all of that. Maybe they're
Yeah.
not good at it. They don't know how. Maybe they're not getting the inquiries. So it's kind of like, a hand in hand relationship where I am getting that stuff.
Hmm.
So I can give them that. They can show up and shoot for me. But they have to know going into it that they need to care about my business because obviously I'm giving them the bookings. I want to keep hiring them as an associate. So they need to care and treat my couples respectfully.
Hmm. When you go into like an associate relationship, do you like tell them like, I like you are going to be hired for like multiple weddings, or
Yes.
do you kind of start with like a trial and then go from there?
So the trial period is like them second shooting with me. So
Okay.
I got to know like how they are working on a wedding day. But I will say like, yes, like I have plans for you to be an associate. We have to start out second shooting. But it's like per season. So
Hmm.
it's not like per job. So for me, I'm like, okay, you sign a contract yearly with me of like, you're going to be here this wedding season. I'm going to book you, for 2024. I'm going to book you for, how many weddings that I think we'll have. I don't ever promise them a set number. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm
Okay.
booking you 15 weddings, like just in case. We never know. We never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
But, if we get to a point where they're like, okay, cool, I want to take one wedding a month, like, awesome. That is what I'm going to try to book for you. Um,
Hmm.
and then, yeah, so that's kind of how it works in that way.
Yeah. So I've only had two associate weddings ever.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe it was three. Um, and in my experience, and they were all kind of within the same year, I just found that managing three weddings that I wasn't even shooting was like so hard. And like it almost required double my attention because it's like I'm not going to be there. So I need to make sure every single thing is perfect and in place. So how do you manage like literally all of those bookings and all of those clients on top of the clients that you already have? Like I am stressed. How do you do it?
I am also stressed. um, yeah, it's a lot of time and attention. You just have to know if you are taking on an associate team, you are stepping into a managerial role. So for me, it's more so I'm more so behind the computer now than I was when I was just shooting for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I do have to manage like all the communication, all of the timelines. I do all of that for all the couples. So not just mine. So my associates, the only thing they're responsible for is showing up and shooting the engagement session and the wedding day and handing the photos to me. So everything else I take care of. I will also say and preface with I have a VA as well that helps me so
Yeah.
much with like managing like contracts, like who's getting paid, like do they have travel,
Mm-hmm.
like is this
Okay.
associate ready to go, like do they have the timeline. So
Yeah.
we have it a system down with my VA to where she knows exactly what to send out when to the associate to make sure they are prepared and ready to go.
Yeah.
But I am also in the inboxes of all of those couples as well.
Cool. Was the VA something that you hired like when you did the associates, or did you already have the VA in place and then you started doing associates?
So I did the associates first
Okay.
for 2 years.
Oh my
And then I
gosh.
was like, I need help
Yeah.
for sure. So the first thing though, I outsourced my editing, which helped so much. So I
Mm-hmm.
have been outsourcing my editing since 2018. And that was my first thing to go, especially because my husband and I were starting to think about a family. And I was like, okay, I can't be sitting in front of the computer editing 30 plus weddings. And my turnaround time was wild. So because I worked at an editing company, I learned how to edit very, very quickly. So I would shoot the wedding on Saturday and I would have the entire gallery back to them on Thursday. So it was insane.
No, no, no.
Just
No, no,
shaking
no.
your head, no. I think my longest turnaround time was 2 weeks. Um,
Oh. The way that that just like gave me instant anxiety, like, oh my
right.
gosh.
Right. So, and that was also with shooting like 2 to 4 sessions a week as well. And those were getting back within a week too. So,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I cannot do all of this while thinking about growing another human. Cause that stresses me out too much. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I need to hire an editor, get that system down. And then once that was down, and then I started doing the associates, I was like, okay, I need more systems down
Mm-hmm.
because I can't do all of it as well. And she hopped on at the beginning of 2020 and has been with me ever since.
Okay, that's awesome. I
Hmm.
feel like uh, even outsourcing your editing, hiring a VA, that's
Yeah.
like kind of scary. And I
Yeah.
know like when I hired my first person, that was really scary. Like I was like, am I going to get my money back on this? Like I have
Right.
no idea. But you just like, you really don't know the potential of your business until you
Yes.
start like giving mundane tasks or tasks that someone else can do to someone else so you can do the things that only you can do.
Yes.
You know,
Literally
and so
preach. Yeah.
yeah, like, and that's something it took me a really long time to realize, but there are some things that only I can do, and the things that other people can do need to be given to other people because otherwise
Yes.
your business is not going to grow.
Yeah.
I love the idea of growing your business through associate teams, but if you cannot manage it, then
Yeah.
you need to like keep growing it and hire someone to help you manage
Yes.
the managing. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just like it's a whole circle of managing. I did want
Yeah.
to ask you about like just quick tips for
Mhm.
anyone, although you've just given like 10 million tips. But any more quick tips for someone that
Yeah.
wants to start an associate team, maybe is at that point where they're getting lots of inquiries. What tips would you have for someone?
Okay. So I'm gonna roll off of these because I have them sitting right here. So tips, if you are getting a ton of inquiries, like overwhelmed with inquiries, if you're at that point, you're like, okay, I'm turning away so many couples, that should be an indicator that you're ready to start a team. So if you have raised your pricing and you're still getting a high volume of inquiries, you've done all the right things. Yes, you're ready to start a team. If you want to spend more time working on your business and not in your business, highly recommend starting a team. Because I've gotten to the point, like I said, in my highest year, I had like 20 some weddings out of the 60. So, 40 of those were my teammates. So I could focus on all the education, all of the things I'm super passionate about teaching other photographers. So that has freed up so much time for me. But then I'm still like have my finger on the pulse of all of these couples who are getting married and giving them the best experience. Which leads me to, if you want to be making passive income. So this is, I would say it's not passive by any means in terms of it is a lot of work to set it up. But you are making income. There's literally someone else shooting, you're not there on that wedding day, but you're still profiting. So if you want to, make that quote unquote passive ish income, that's a great option. And then, like I said, if you want to be able to serve couples and give them your experience without actually being there. And then if you are ready to set boundaries, this is a great option for you. So if for me, like I was a people pleaser, I was a yes girl, saying yes to every single wedding, every single shoot. But it came to the point where I was like, okay, I need to say no more. So it opens up other doors for me in terms of where I want my business to go. But I need to say no for that. I need to set boundaries in that way. So then I can, steer myself in the right direction, but I can say no to those weddings, but I can give them to my associates who
Mm-hmm.
want the work, want to be creative, want to give a great experience. And then we both profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all great. I love
Yeah.
all of that. Thank you for just literally just spewing them out. Like that's exactly what I wanted. Yeah. So let's talk about work-life balance now, because you have kids and like this is a huge thing when you have a family, is like just being able to balance being a human, but also being a business owner. So just kind of tell me about like how you manage your work life versus your home life. Just kind of like, yeah, let's just talk about it.
At the moment, not very well. We are
Maybe
still figuring it out.
It's good. Maybe it's just a brainstorming session, maybe.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I've been through it once. I have a 4-year-old and now I have a 9-month-old. So with my personal decision, I like to keep my kids home until they're 1 year of age. So that first year is always tough, because I'm doing all of the things. I'm trying to work during nap times. I'm trying to work after bedtime. But that is something I know going into it, because I don't want to start daycare or anything like that until that 1 year mark, so I can get the most time with my children when they're very young. So that's my decision. But, I would say you have to accept help. So if you are trying to like manage both and you are struggling, you have to accept help either in your business with outsourcing, hiring a VA, hiring an editor. Like if you don't have any of that and you're trying to do that plus have kids at home, that is like a deadly combination. Do not do that because you're not thriving at either. So I would say ask for the help, accept the help, either in your business or, children wise. So hire a nanny, bring your kids to daycare, have a friend watch them, or do a nanny share, something like that. Because it's okay for someone else to come in and watch your kids a couple days a week. So without doing either of those, it's so hard to thrive in both areas is what I'm currently figuring out.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I was even thinking like, even if you don't have kids, like let's say you're just struggling with like your personal life versus your business life, like you can literally like outsource someone cleaning or like in my head, I would rather outsource things that I feel like don't need like the business mind. Like I can just find a cleaner, like I don't need to find an amazing genius to run my business for me half the time. Like you're hardly going to find that person, but you can find a cleaner like, just on Fiverr or whatever. Fiverr? No, that's the wrong place. Yelp, maybe Yelp or Google Maps, whatever. Google, yeah. So just like being willing to outsource, I think that's so huge. For like within your business, do you have like systems in place to kind of help you manage that work-life balance?
Oh, yeah. Yes, like all the workflows are set up in place. A lot of things are automatic within workflows, especially like, if we find that an associate is open, I get an inquiry, associate is open. When we immediately send, yes, that we're available, everything is set in place. The emails are all in place all the way to like getting a review like a month after the wedding is done.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we have all of those templated emails set up. Of course, they're customizable and we do customize them like per couple.
Mm-hmm.
But everything is all set in place. And I highly recommend doing that. Like if you don't have templated things set up in your business and workflows
Mm-hmm.
set up, if you are just willy-nilly just like throwing emails out into the universe, do not do that. Like you need to template them and then set them up in a workflow. And it
Yeah.
makes life so much easier.
Yeah. What are you using for your workflows?
I'm in HoneyBook.
Okay.
So it's all set up in there.
Perfect. Yeah. I didn't know if you used like, what's the other one that people use? I'm blanking on the name.
Dubsado. Is it Dubsado? Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Both are great.
Yep.
I've found that the first like year and a half of my business, I was sitting behind the computer replying to emails literally all day.
Constantly.
And I
Yes.
didn't even like think about, I was like, oh, I should make this automatic. It probably won't take me that much time. It's probably going to take me more time to set it up, you know?
Yeah.
So you kind of put it off, push it off. But literally, I do not think about sending emails anymore. Unless like I get a direct email like with like a specific question. But like that's like once every week, maybe. So yeah, automations are key for literally anyone.
Absolutely.
Listening. Set it up right now.
Do it.
Yeah. Press pause, go set it up.
Exactly.
Awesome. Do you have any other tips for like home life / work life balance or anything else?
Yes. Set clear boundaries. So, like I said, I was a yes girl. I would do anything and everything to like answer emails at 11 p.m. But when you're in the beginning of your business, it's so important to set clear boundaries, or your couples or people you work with are going to continue to cross your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling like stressed out, overwhelmed, like with all this work, like you need to at some point shut it off, because it's so hard for us as entrepreneurs. And like, I don't know about you, but I'm an Enneagram 3. I like thrive when I'm working. But I am like, give me work literally from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. I can do it. But if you don't shut off, you're going to go into burnout like so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So set those boundaries, especially, if you have kids at home or you have a spouse or a significant other who you want to spend time with, like you need those boundaries to continue relationships, because it's important that you have the support in your business. Like you can thrive on your own for sure, but like what's the fun in that if you can't celebrate your wins without your people?
No, it's so true. I love like the support is like so huge for me.
Yeah.
Like if my parents aren't like texting me asking about my launch, like I don't want it. I want my parents. Something that I feel like I say it all the time on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. Like having office hours in your email signature, like you have to like literally tell people I will respond to you within this time frame.
Yes.
I think of any other business, like literally like if you shop at, I don't know, Target or whatever. Target's probably too big, but like something is a little bit smaller. Like I don't know. I can't think of one.
You like got your dentist office or something like that.
Sure, yes, the dentist. Like they literally have hours that they're open and hours that they're closed. That is normal. Like be open and closed, because like that's also going to allow you time when you are technically closed. You can also do other things too. So you're close to your clients on Mondays and Fridays, but like on Mondays and Fridays, that's when you create content, or that's when you just batch all your editing, and then you can literally shut yourself off like at 5 p.m. or whatever time you want to shut off, and literally like turn off your Gmail notifications. Like don't look at anything until like the next day when work starts. Like you you have to set the intentional boundary. Otherwise you will cross it. If you're a business owner, like I care so much about my business and about my customers that like I will read your email at 9 p.m. if it pops up on my phone, because I care, like I need to know what's happening. So yeah, it's good to just set that boundary, because nothing is going to be so urgent that you have to respond to it.
No, and if it is, they
right
will get
away.
in contact with you a different way.
Right.
And then also I've been shutting off all my apps like at 8:30 p.m.
Okay.
So like bedtime is at 7:30. We're like, rounding down kids by like 7:45, 8 o'clock. So I have just a little bit of time to like, check in, scroll, do whatever I need to do. And then 8:30, they shut off. Everything's disabled. So I'm like, okay, I need to like get in bed, do my skincare routine, read my books, and then
Yeah.
take a little bit of time for me. Do I ignore the notifications sometimes? Sometimes I do.
Hmm.
But I think it's healthy to kind of cut everything off after a certain point and like not look at your phone until 11 p.m. at night.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I just love the idea of like doing something that isn't on your phone. Like
Yes.
just like reading a book, going on a
Hmm.
walk, like
Yes.
doing your skincare, doing the dishes. Even like
Hmm.
doing the dishes is so much better than scrolling on Instagram cuz like what do you get after scrolling for 30 minutes?
Right.
Honestly, sometimes you end up feeling bad about yourself. But
Yeah.
after 30 minutes of doing the dishes, you have a clean kitchen. Like pop up.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Cool. Awesome. Well, I feel like that was a really good way to wrap up the episode.
that
You
was
just
so
like,
good.
yeah, we talked about all like, I feel like those are all good topics that like as a beginner, I would be so curious about, just like
Absolutely.
all of it.
Yeah. And like one of the biggest things too that I skipped over, in terms of like, if you're in that part of your business where you feel like you're hitting a ceiling and you're like, I'm in the beginning stages, but I'm like ready to move up. You need to at some point let go of like all like the grip that you have on your business. Like once you start letting go and you like hire and outsource, even if it's
Hmm.
scary or like you hire an associate team, like once you let go, the doors will open for you with so many more opportunities and you're not going to feel that glass ceiling anymore. You're going to break through that. So if I
Yeah.
leave anyone with anything, it is to let go of your tight grip just a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah. That's such good advice.
Yeah.
So true. Like,
Yeah.
if I could emphasize that, that is emphasizing that. um,
Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I love that. I loved that. Do you have anything fun or exciting coming up in your business that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, I do. I have a retreat coming up in June. I'm super excited. It's in
Ooh.
Joshua Tree. I do have a few spots left. But yeah, it's in early June. It's in Joshua Tree. It's 3 days and we're going to have a lot of fun content. But it's also educational as well.
Cool. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Me being
Yeah.
like, when in June is
When?
it?
It's on a Monday.
Honestly, I'm probably free on a
Right.
Monday, let's be real.
Right.
Cool. Well, I will link your socials and everything
Sweet.
in the description of the episode. But Grace, thank you so much for coming on the episode. It was so great chatting
Thank
with you.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks for sharing your knowledge with everyone.